folks. It's turned out to be a beautiful day. We had a little bit of rain this morning, but it's turned out very, very pretty today. I think the wind's going to pick up a little bit. We might get a good breeze before the evening hours. Today I'm going to talk to you about sharpening. So I'm going to break it up into a couple of parts and kind of talk to you about the different tools that would need to be sharpened. First of all, we're going to talk about chisels. And then we're going to talk about spade bits, regular drill bits or twist bits. I'm going to go through some router bits with you. And then we're going to move on to saws, which are a little less traditional anymore. We usually use the power equipment stuff, but a good handsaw is a woodworker's friend. So let's start with chisels. Different chisels are made quite differently, and you can kind of see in this particular case we have a wooden handle that has a metal ring on there, and that metal ring is to keep it from busting the handle when you're using a mallet on it. The plastic chisel has a little piece of metal on the end of it, and it's okay to use a regular hammer with it. However, some don't have that piece of metal, and it's not such a good idea. A hammer is a lot of times used in a chisel, especially an all steel chisel. It's not going to hurt a thing. This will mushroom a little bit, but that can be filed out over time. Don't let the mushroom get too big, or you'll end up with pieces flying off of there, maybe into your eye. Always wear eye protection, of course, when you're using chisels. And again, you can use a hammer when it has a little metal backing on it, or it is an all metal chisel. My mallet, what I like to use is this particular mallet here, and it's a plastic mallet, and it has shot in it, so it's got like lead shot in it, and you can kind of hear that a little bit. And it works great for those because it's not going to hurt the handle at all. However, because that shot's in there, it actually gives you an extra little blow on there. So let's talk about the edges. So we're here to sharpen our tools, and sometimes they can be sharpened very wrong or just misused. So in this case, this chisel was used against some metal or something, maybe a nail, and you can see that there are quite a few gouges in there, notches that we're going to try to kind of get out of there. You can also see some bluing in here, and what that means is when it was trying to be sharpened, it got too hot. And I'm going to show you how to keep your chisels cool. So this is kind of a proper way of sharpening a chisel. It has a nice slope on it, and this one is, you can see it's way too steep. So we need to get this one a little bit further down, and more, maybe not quite so much as this, but definitely not as little as this. When I'm sharpening my chisels, a couple of things that I'm going to need. If the surface looks kind of like that, then I may have to grind it. Certainly, this one that has the gouges in it is going to have to be ground. So when I'm grinding, I want to use a fairly medium grinding wheel. And I always want to keep my water handy here because that's what's going to keep it from getting too hot. Here's a rule of thumb. Put your thumb approximately an inch away from the blade. I always put my first finger kind of here so that I can prop it on here, and then I can get my, I'm going to test this a couple of different ways. Notice that my fingers here are between this notch here, and I can just kind of very easily lay this over. I can check that to make sure that I have a proper angle on there, and you can look on the internet and find out what proper angles are for sure. I'm not so sure that I do know what they are, but I kind of use my intuition as to what kind of work that I'm going to be doing on it. So as I'm using this, and if my thumb starts to get warm while I'm having it on the wheel, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down here and I'm going to put it in the water. And all that does is cool it off. So let's begin on this. Always make sure that you have some sort of safety glasses or eyeglasses on. A little bit at a time. You don't want to put it in too hard. Just work at it ever so slightly. If you're lucky enough to have a smoother stone, then you can really polish this up and make it look really nice. Again, try to keep that same angle. If you don't have a smoother stone such as this machine here, you can always use a wet stone or an oil stone. I usually use some WD-40 on it to help lubricate it, to keep it cool. And what you want to do is you want to find that sweet spot in there and then utilize the whole stone. I've seen a lot of people do a circle, like a figure 8 on it. But what happens is you're crossing over this center twice, and you're going to end up wearing this centerpiece down a lot faster. So, and I've also seen people doing a circle. But I just tend to just go straight back and forth, work my way across, then work my way back. You can go twice on that edge, and then work your way back as well. When it's done, you're going to have little burrs on here that kind of lay over there. What you want to do is you want to place this flat down on there without lifting it up. Just a couple of times on there will be fine. And what that does is that knocks that burr off. This is what I mean by that sweet spot. When you rock it back and forth, you can feel when it's hitting this end and that end, and you kind of want to get both ends on there. Find out where that sweet spot is, and then just follow through.
go see if these work. Deal. Little effort. Very little effort. Here I have 3 different spade bits, and you can see how this one here is much shorter than this one, and what had happened was I'd put too much of an angle on it, and I should have stayed more in this area. This one, if you look really closely, this side here is shorter than that side. So when this would be cutting, then the tall side would be doing all the work, and the short side wouldn't be doing any. Lastly, this is a brand new one, and you'll notice it has little ears on here. Since my wheel is not very skinny, I can't really do anything with this, and I end up having to cut them off. But this one is good. I don't need to do anything to it. I also use the water to keep these cool as well. I always kind of get them wet a little bit before I do that. I want to take good care when I turn this over so that I don't move it up and down on my finger and get a different angle on there. I want the same angle on there. I want to be careful of that. And that looks like it pretty much is level. Talking about spade bits, they're just flat bits that are sharpened in such a way that they can cut wood. They're cutting in this direction, so we want that to be nice and sharp. I'm going to take these burrs off. Now let's talk about twist bits. Twist bits actually have a little bit, I'm showing you on this large one, they're sharpened so that they are in an upward angle. That way this part here hits the wood first and there's little to no drag on the rear end of it. Sharpening these can be quite tricky.
This is a drill doctor, and this is a real nice handy thing to use to sharpen drill bits, because let me find one here that's good to show you, because we want both of these sides to be perfect. And what I mean perfect is we want this angle to be perfect. Use something else to describe that. We want this angle here to be perfect on both sides, and we want this edge to be leading away in a perfect way too on both sides. That way both sides equally cut when we're trying to drill with it. So this little system here is pretty little cool little thing. It just goes in here.
So we enter the machine, by pushing this down, it grabs and puts it at the right angle. Then you'll notice this little thing here, line it up there. Now you can take it down here a little bit more, which will give you a sharper angle, or you can take it up this way and will give you a less of an angle. I usually kind of shoot for the mid-range there. Had good success with that. Tighten it. And then sharpen it.
As I explained, the drill doctor has several settings on it, and in these pictures you can see that the angle of cut is greater when gone one way or the other, meaning that in this particular picture the bit is cutting quite aggressively and there is no drag on the rear end of it at all. On this picture I set the machine to the far other side, and you can see that technically if the rear end of the blade is hitting material, the front end will not be cutting at all, and it works kind of dull like.
So I'm going to put this up here and get my angle just right. And I want to make sure that this is completely horizontal on the wheel. And when we get started, all I'm going to do is feed it into it, and then I'm going to turn. So I'm turning it this way as I turn it this way. So I'm turning it just ever so slightly. That's a little bit much. You can see from the thing there that really it just kind of goes just kind of like that. Not very much at all. Bigger ones are a little easier to sharpen this way than smaller ones. In sharpening the router bits, first of all, we've got to get rid of this nut, guide, and washer. And on our stone, we want to make sure that this is as flat down on there as that we can. And that's all there is. This is a pool saw. And you can see by the teeth why it is called a pool saw. They're cut back into it. These are very, very hard to sharpen, but they do a very aggressive cut. Pull saw, you can see how the teeth are. They're setting back in this direction. But they also have a set on them, meaning that they're going opposite directions like that. As you can see, I'm not putting any pressure on that at all. So, in order to sharpen this, I have to use a triangular file. Very gently, I'm going to follow these teeth, and they are in this direction. So if the tooth is leaning out this way, I'm going to pull. If the tooth is leaning out in the other direction, I'm going to push. The crosscut saw, you'll notice that the teeth are leaning in this way so that it is a push saw, but it also has set in it to where the teeth are going in opposite directions. But if you'll notice, these are angled in such a way, much like the pull saw. Those teeth are sharpened in this direction here, like a knife. A crosscut saw means that it cuts across the grain in this direction. This is a rip saw, meaning that it's going to cut with the grain. And you'll notice that the teeth are much larger, and when we sharpen those, we sharpen them straight across. Let's look at these two together. Rip saw, crosscut saw. A hole saw. This also has set on it where the teeth are going in opposite directions. And you can do a couple of different ways of sharpening this. You can use a chainsaw file, which this is not the best one in the world. It's very dirty and rusty. So when you put this on there, you can actually put it flat on here, right through the middle, and you can sharpen both at the same time. I'm not going to, because I want to show you something. See how this does not actually fall perfectly on here? I need a smaller diameter, and I don't have one. So you can do it this way, or you can use the triangular file. But when you do the triangular file, you can't do both at the same time. You can only do one side at a time. The ones leading out are going to be cut in this direction, and the ones leaning in are going to be cut in this direction. So out's going to have a leading edge so that this side here is longer than the other side, and then the same goes for the ones on the inside. This side is going to be longer than this side. And it just takes a little bit of practice.